Welcome back. President Trump talking tough after another gas attack in Syria, calling out Russian President Vladimir Putin and Iran for backing animal Assad. This as Russia blames U.S. ally Israel for airstrikes on Syria overnight. So what does this mean for the U.S. now on the world stage? Joining me now is national security analyst Ryan Mauro. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So this story continues to develop, coming about 1 year, almost exactly 1 year after another deadly chemical attack there in Syria. What should our response be?
I see no other option besides military action. I think I would actually be surprised if by the end of this week we're not talking about American airstrikes on Syrian targets, not just one of them, not just one airbase like we did last time, but multiple, probably designed to severely damage, if not completely remove the Syrian Air Force from the skies. Because if our standard before was to respond to chemical attacks and we blew up one airbase, well, Assad just did it again. That's quite a challenge, and I don't think Trump wants to back down from a challenge.
And that's what I'm wondering, since the response 1 year ago and that attack that I mentioned was to launch Tomahawk missiles, what should the response be this time around? The same or different?
Bigger, probably longer. And that's because, like I said, we have to actually make Assad's grip on power loosen. He doesn't care if he loses people within his military. He doesn't care if his own civilians die. What he does care about is his own power. So if the U.S. targets the Syrian Air Force, individual military units involved in chemical attacks, to the point where Assad says, look, I'm losing territory, I'm hurting myself, then that could possibly deter him. But more broadly, we also have to think of the terrorist groups beyond ISIS that could benefit from Assad losing territory. And frankly, I think we need to double down on our support for the Kurds, Christians, and Arabs allied with us in northern Syria so that we have some type of long-term partner there, because I've got news for you, Turkey is not that partner, so we have a lot of people, including so-called friends, who are acting as spoilers.
Yeah. Here's something else that President Trump tweeted over the weekend, and this was in reference to Obama and the red line. He said if President Obama had crossed his stated red line in the sand, the Syrian disaster would have ended long ago. Animal Assad would have been history. And what he is referencing is back in 2012 when President Obama promised that, or he warned Syrian President Bashar al-Assad not to cross that red line. He did cross that red line and used chemical weapons. There was some sort of agreement made, and Bashar al-Assad agreed to remove his chemical weapons stockpile, which apparently has not happened.
Right. I don't necessarily agree with Trump because, look, he enforced Obama's red line last year, and Assad waited a while and then started up the chemical attacks again. And then they started increasing as he saw a lack of international care for the Syrian people. And so now he's back at it, and it's time for the United States to respond. But what I want viewers to understand is that over the next week, you're probably going to be bombarded with disinformation from the propagandists of Russia, Iran, and Assad. You're going to be hearing stuff like conspiracy theories saying Assad is somehow innocent. He's a great ally against the jihadists. It couldn't be further from the truth. I've studied Assad for many years.
What is he getting out of these attacks, Assad?
His forces are overstretched. So when he gets bogged down in certain areas that are held by rebels and/or terrorists, because not everyone fighting Assad is necessarily a freedom fighter, he has to use these type of chemical weapons in order to disperse the population so that he can better control it, and he's trying to regain as much territory as he possibly can. And so that's why a lot of people say that this is not going to end until Assad as a person is out, meaning him individually is out of Syria, or frankly someone near him decides to become a hero and kills him,
which then brings
but the regime does not implode. That's the risk here, is that we need to hurt Assad, but if the regime implodes, everything gets worse.
Yeah, and it brings in Russia and Iran, who both back Assad, meeting with the UN today, seeing what will happen and what they'll have to say about all this. So perhaps an international response. Thank you so much for joining us, Ryan. We appreciate it. We'll keep an eye on it.